All right, our final award winner tonight, and you've been very patient, we appreciate it, is Howie Weinstein. I always call him Weinstein. I'm not sure between him and Steve which is Weinstein and which is Weinstein, and truthfully, I don't care. They're both friends, and I don't worry about what their names are. It's not important. So, Howie's amazing. Ralph Katz is going to present to him. I think we're going to do this a little backwards. I think I'm going to have Ralph come up first and present to Howie. So Ralph, would you come up here and present, give your little talk for Howard, please. I'll do that next, okay. And I'll wait up here with you. You're going to read yours?
Pretty much. Oh, I was going to...
Don't you dare.
Yeah. All right. Hi, everybody. Only one page. Only one page. I am honored to be here tonight to introduce my longtime friend and many-time bridge partner, Howie Weinstein. I never know. Howard has been so much more than a great player, understanding partner, and a supportive teammate. He's been a selfless volunteer on behalf of our favorite game. The Hall of Fame committee could not have made a better choice. But before I go into more about Howie, this will be a very short introduction by me. George insisted that he make a trade for 6 of my 8 allocated minutes. We all know he was going to take them anyway, so I agreed to the trade. But he really hasn't used them. So I met Howie at the San Francisco Nationals in 1981, and I don't take offense, Howard, that you don't remember that, during the Blue Ribbon Pairs. At that time, he looked like he was still in high school. I mistakenly thought I was the elder of the two of us. Little did I know a 40-year friendship and partnership would be forming. I moved to Chicago a year later. My first outing in Chicago was a club game. On the way back, Howie almost got us killed. He drove through the worst neighborhood in Chicago, which that might have been okay, but he then ran out of gas. A policeman happened to see us and immediately stopped by and picked us up to go get some gas, but on the way back, he told us there was a very good chance that Howard's car would not be there when we get back. It all worked out okay, but I decided I needed to buy a car if I was going to play locally with Howie. Besides being a great bridge player, Howie is even a better person. Always modest, friendly, completely honest. He has many wonderful bridge achievements, but I think his greatest achievement was finding Carol, his life partner.
Thanks, Ralph. Howie, wait just a minute. I might have something to say here. Possibility exists, anyway. So, Howie and Ralph and I lived less than a mile apart. We were like the Bermuda Triangle. And we spent a lot of time at each other's houses and hung out a lot together. And we played a lot of bridge together, too. We went all over the world to play bridge. Howie could have easily had 2 world championships. We, in our Bermuda Bowl, we ran into one of the best teams of all time in the final, the Norwegians, or we might have won that one. And we also played in the Olympiad in 2000, and unfortunately we lost to some Poles and some Italians. And if maybe they were a little more ethical, Howard might have had a world championship there as well. So Howard's a great bridge player, a lot of fun to hang around with. All of you that drink wine know that you should always go to Howard to find out what the best wine is to drink. And Howard is, a couple things real quick. Ralph and I are playing in the Cavendish, and so is Howie. So Ralph and I have a monster game on Sunday, and we win the Sunday. So we don't win anything in the Cavendish. We don't come in that year, but we win the Sunday individual day event, and we win $20,000. Well, Howie has 10% of us. So I go running up to Howie, and I said, Howie, I've got some great news for you. Well, I don't realize that Howie's in third place in the Cavendish, and he thinks he's just won the Cavendish. And he doesn't know, and that's over 300,000. So it was just a couple thousand, but I was so excited for you. My first ever Risinger, I'm playing with Ralph and Howie. And Ralph said to me, look, it's unlikely we're even going to make the final. You rarely make the final. Well, we do make the final. And in the first set, Ralph and I have what we believe to be like a 19.5. We're so excited. And Howie comes up to us and says, hey, do you guys want to know how you did? Instead of waiting to compare, we say, sure. He says, you're just about average. So thanks a lot, Howie. But the most important Howie story is this. Howie got me thrown out of the view graph one time. I was literally evicted from the view graph room because of Howie Weinstein. Why do you think that is? So we're playing in the finals of the 2000 team trials. And we're up 68 imps going into the last set against Richie Schwartz's team. And Ralph and I sit out. We've just played the 7th chukker. We did really well. We're up 68 imps. Howie and Steve sit down to play the last chukker. And the next thing you know, 49 straight imps have been lost. And the final hand that broke the camel's back was this. Howie and Steve, between them, have the ace-king clubs, and they're defending 6 no-trump against Michael Rosenberg. And you would think with the ace-king of clubs, you have a reasonable chance of beating it. He lets one of them in with one of the honors, and then he squeezes the other one out of the other honor. And I erupted in the room, and I screamed out, Howie, you fucker! And I apologize, but I was asked to leave the room then as well. The only saving grace is that while I was in the room, Ralph called me and said, I think the bleeding has stopped because Zia just bid 3 no-trump and Steve's on lead with 7 solid. And so, anyway, I'd like to present a wonderful, wonderful recipient of this award, Howie Weinstein.
There's all sorts of notes sitting here. Okay. In any case, I'd like to thank Ralph for the introduction, George for being MC. As they've alluded to, we've been friends, partners, teammates for decades. And we have so many stories about each other. I thought we had an unspoken pact of mutually assured embarrassment. And apparently not. I thought about leaving myself an extra minute or two in case I needed retribution. But at last, George gets always the last word. I want to extend my appreciation to the Hall of Fame Committee and also to Tracy Yarborough for help in organizing this event. Congrats to Fred Stewart on his well-deserved Sportsman of the Year award. Fred and I, despite never partnering, were frequent teammates and opponents, and I can't think of anybody more deserving. He's always been a gentleman with the highest integrity. But Fred has another side to him. A few decades ago, we were playing the Risinger, and I'm playing on the Weinstein team, with some friends from Minneapolis. Fred is on the Stewart team playing with his stepson, some other Weinstein. Can't remember his first name. All right. So in the first semifinal round, our team has a really bad score. Just say 1 digit was plenty to cover it. We went out to dinner, came back, and on the score sheet was this big giant red H in front of Weinstein. Thank you, Fred. My congrats to Jay and John Crothers on their much-deserved Blackwood Awards. My interactions over the last decade or so with Jay, I've had quite a few, And I've always been impressed with his intelligence, his energy, and his integrity, and very much deserved. And as John has alluded to, as my good friend John has alluded to, we played on numerous occasions, many times over in foreign countries. And John's always been a great partner and a great person to travel with. Nobody other than my other half, Carol, that I'd rather travel with. As been alluded to, this award could have been shared with his better half, Katie. And Gaylord was always a terrific opponent. I always really enjoyed playing against him. He always played well. Sometimes we won, sometimes we lost, but it was just always a pleasure to play against as an opponent. And then I have to mention, it's been alluded to, so I lived in Chicago for quite about 20-some years. And I remember one time in my home, this is probably right, 1989, 1990, it was a party at my house, and some curly-haired teenager showed up, too much energy, and had no idea who she was, but she became a friend for decades, and she's now our executive director, Bronya. And I'd like to take a moment to honor some of my bridge friends that are no longer with us. From the Minneapolis area and eventually Chicago. My first regular bridge partner was a guy named Dick Nelson, terrific player, but he passed away about last fall. And others, good friends and past partners, Milt Rosenberg, his wife Sharon is over there. Peter Nagy, and Eric Kokish passed away just recently. And I have to admit, I never knew which one was Nagy and which one was Kokish until Nagy moved to Chicago. And then from Minneapolis, Jim Hall and Larry Oakey, and other recently departed friends, Dave Anderson, Eddie Cantor, Chicago bridge players, Bill Dorishow and Thad Cole. Like many of others in bridge, I started playing chess, and my dad was a local duplicate player. Really tried not to get me to play bridge before I got out of college. Knew I'd get addicted. And didn't work. And I just wish both my parents could be here with us tonight. They both passed away a decade or two ago. And my first major in college was bridge. And while we're in Chicago, the first person I ever met in college at the University of Chicago was a guy named Carl Sharp, who some of the Chicago people would know. He was a really colorful guy, terrific guy. He was, I think, 2010 ACBL Goodwill or Volunteer of the Year. And he passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. Just so many connections to Chicago here. And when I moved here back in about 1980 or so, my first residence was about 2 blocks from here. And my first two partners I played with kind of there were a guy named Hal Mauser and Larry Robbins, and they both lived in the building. And I just wanted to, it was terrific. I'm going to skip some of this stuff here. And so since Chicago, I've lived in a bunch of places, Florida, Gulf Coast, Southern California, Omaha. Then 8 years ago, I moved to Rancho Mirage, California in the desert. And I just wanted to express my gratitude to my better half, Carol Jarvis, sitting over there. Best thing I've done. Hopefully best thing she's done, I don't know. So while our primary residence is now in Midway, Utah, near Park City, we still have a place in Rancho Mirage. So I pretty much retired from bridge during the pandemic as I didn't really enjoy online bridge. When live play resumed, the desire to get back into serious bridge just wasn't there. All the cheating scandals were kind of part of it too. I spent a lot of time in that area. Other people spent a lot more time. And I've spent 5 decades playing the game I love, had the opportunity to know and meet, spend time with countless friends. There have been very few bridge hands I can distinctly remember, but I really will always remember everybody that I've met through bridge. And while some names were already mentioned, I want to thank a few of my still kicking long-term bridge partners over the years. Steve Garner, Ralph Katz, introducing, Ross Gravel, and a few of those I've partnered a few times over the years. Sherry Bjorken, John Carruthers, as he mentioned, Bart Bramley, Gary Kohler, Mike Becker, and even Zia. And I'd also like to thank Chicago and Susie and Stan Subek for everything they do. Jeff Wolfson, I think he's here, as well as Jack Ost for his help in making the Gardner-Weinstein system more comprehensible. And finally, I want to express my gratitude to Tracy and the Hall of Fame committee, to Mitch, and to others who contributed to this event. Thanks again.
Thing here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, baseball. Major League Baseball has instituted a pitch clock this year, and games are now 2.5 hours instead of 3.5 hours or 3 hours. And we've done the same thing here. We pulled this off in 1 hour and 45 minutes, and you are free to go. Thank you for attending the Hall of Fame dinner. Congratulations to all of you.